This is
Yes, that's it. And like the rest of us, he's getting on, and I think he has to put his glasses on.
yeah.
So this describes.
I'm just trying to find the piece on it. I think you had it marked, but I'm not sure.
If you're in the area of Red Hook, over by IKEA, and you don't feel like shopping IKEA, slip away, park your car, come over to Rocky Sullivan's. We'll be showing the movie afterwards. We have a packed house here, and we have special guest Gerry Conlon here in the bar, and he's now going to read an excerpt from his book called Proved Innocent.
My father was in a room on the ground floor. He had a drip plugged into his arm, and I don't know what other treatment he'd been getting, but he looked 50% better than I'd seen him for months. He was sitting up and the nurses were clucking over him and saying he'd been a good boy, eating up his tea and all that. I went away feeling that so long as he stayed where he was and they kept up the treatment, he was capable of getting back on his feet. But a few days later, a screw said he had seen someone looking in the window of my father's hospital room. Some bright spark decided that it may be an IRA reconnaissance team, and at any time now they were going to try and spring Joe Conlon from the hospital. Joe Conlon, who couldn't walk 20 yards. So in a panic they bundled him into his pyjamas and into a taxi and whisked him back to the prison hospital. Then my mother could no longer stay. She was terrified of losing her job, so she flew back to Belfast, and it was like being back at square one again. My mother back across the water, my father back being looked after the screws, who had the bare minimum paramedical training, and now thought they were brain surgeons. By the 18th of the month, he'd gone back downhill, lost all the ground he'd made up in Hammersmith Hospital, and was developing pneumonia. He went back to Hammersmith Hospital, and I was sitting in my cell, listening to the radio one night around 10 o'clock when the screw came and told me I was going down to see him now in the middle of the night. The hospital was full of policemen, armed to the teeth. I was taken upstairs past policemen holding a pump-action shotgun into his room. I couldn't understand why it was so full of people. Catholic priests, Home Office people, screws, prison doctors. The room was crowded. Everyone was standing around muttering or just standing quietly, as if they were there to witness something. My father had an oxygen mask on, drip stuck in his veins. He was awake. I was near the bed, still handcuffed to his screw, and saw that even with the oxygen mask, he was labouring for breath. I began to cry. My father moved, twitched his hand up and put it away, the oxygen mask. I'm going to die. No, you're not going to die. No, you're not. Yes, I am, but don't be worrying. I want you to promise me something. Yes, okay. I mean it. Yes, I promise you. Speech was taking it out of him, but it was so important that he raised his voice. When I die, I don't want you attacking any screws. I want you to start clearing my name. My desk's going to clear your name, and when your name gets cleared, you clear mine. I was crying. I leaned forward to touch him with both my hands, but one wrist was still handcuffed. And then he looked past me at all the people and said out in a voice loud enough for them all to hear, "If any of you think I'm guilty, look me straight in the face." They all dropped their heads under their shoulders and said, they all dropped their heads on their shoulders, and he said, "How does it feel to be murdering an innocent man?" Then a screw came to me and said, "The visit's over," and I was let out.